Okay, Crush Parking Lot Candy, we know you were simping for 9/10 of the Haunted Mansion cast. How did it go? So here's the thing. I was fine until Lakeith Stanfield called the ghost baby. The forecast was moist. This whole movie was so much fucking fun. Like, I've never been on the ride. The one time I went to Disney World, the ride was closed for renovations, but from what I know from the ride, this looks pretty on par. They got the tall stripy room, they got the weird hallways, there's ghosties everywhere, the freaky bus statues. If you look on the background wallpaper, if I'm not mistaken, that's the original Haunted Mansion wallpaper too. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain of it. I know it's a kids movie, but just a fair warning, it might be just a smidge spooky for really small kids. Anyway, so here's what you need to know. Rosario Dawson finds a creepy Victorian haunted mansion full of suits of armor and creepy paintings and bust statues and furniture on Zillow and thinks it's a good idea to turn it into a bed and breakfast. So she moves in with her son, and then they find out after about 5 seconds that it's haunted, so they call Owen Wilson, who's supposed to be a priest, and then he decides he's going to bring in somebody who's good with, like, specter pictures or whatever, so he goes to Lakeith Stanfield. But he's dealing with some personal issues, but he's going to come and do what he does anyway. And then they find out they can't leave because the ghosties follow him. And so they bring in a medium who's Tiffany Haddish, and let me tell you, she is a delight through this whole thing. And then they need a professor who's Danny DeVito, and frankly, Danny DeVito is just Frank Reynolds toned down for children. Just chaos incarnate. I love that man. And they're trying to get rid of all these hauntings, but then they find out it's not actually these ghosts, it's the Hatbox Ghost, which is Jared Leto. And Jared Leto needs a sacrifice in order to come to life and leave the mansion. Which, if you were to tell me Jared Leto actually used human sacrifice in order to come to life, I would believe it. But that's a story for another day. It's pretty to look at. It's funny. I would say watching this is just as charming as watching the Scooby-Doo movies. Or even Hook. I would put this kind of sort of on the same level as Hook. Maybe like just one below because, you know, Robin Williams is untouchable. But you get my point. But also, if you try to compare it to Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion, I don't feel like you can because it's really two different entities. It's like comparing the Spider-Mans. You know, technically it's the same thing, but you can love them both equally.